Good evening. Patrick here. Eight questions with, and welcome to the show, everybody. Episode 302. 302. And tonight we are welcoming in the very multi-talented filmmaker, producer, executive producer, actress, coach, rescue animal advocate, uh, writer, you name it, she's doing it. And we are happy to welcome back Mariah Owen tonight. Hey, Drew, welcome in. Welcome in. So we talking to Mariah Owen. She is a Canadian-based filmmaker, and it was funny. It's like I was sitting there talking to her a little bit today, and I went back to my blog and my very first interview I did with her, and I realized that I told her, I says, you and I have actually known each other pretty much for 4 years now, and holy cow, the time has just flown. See, Anthony's here saying he's got 824 subs. I think last time I saw Anthony, he had 818. So I think he gained 6 subs. He is a machine. Uh, all right, Drew's got 533. You guys are really cranking it up. That's awesome. Congratulations to the both of you, man. That's good. That's good. Um, yeah, I'm still stuck. I can't get out of the 150s. Um, but yeah, it's funny. We talked a little bit, and wow, it's sort of funny with some of the folks I talked to, and this may sound sort of weird, but go with me with this because it doesn't. It's like I said before, it's really fun to sit back and watch people you admire and you have high respect for. It's really cool to see them go. You know what I'm saying? It's like watching your friend play high school football and knowing he's got a scholarship, or uh, uh, you know, uh, uh, a, you know, a band getting a contract or something like that. Somebody something happens for them, like they get married, they have a kid. It's always exciting, even though it's not happening to you per se, but you can sit there and can watch other people happen for, and it's super exciting to see. And though I'm very careful because they're completely individuals and completely separate. I'm saying that right now in case Mariah's watching, but I do see Mariah and her friend Leah as sort of like twins, or like sort of wonder twins. I every time I think of one, I always think about the other one. Because that's how I met them. I met them as a pair. Our friend and publicist Krista Schreck actually introduced us to Leah and Mariah, but they are totally different people. Mariah is very talented, and it was just shockingly so. I wish I had at least like a tenth of the talent that young lady has, um, and the drive, and yet she still has time to have fun, which is really really important. So there's a lot going on with her that we're going to be talking about. She's got couple of TV shows in development. She's got. Hey, Paul, how are you? Glad you are here. We'll be talking with Mariah Owen here in about 10 minutes or so. Am I excited about Rise of the Beast? Okay, so I'm going to probably shock you by saying this, Drew, but yes, I'm actually pretty excited about that. And I'll tell you why. The reason why is in the previews that I've seen for the Transformers, you can actually see what's going on. The Michael Bay movies, uh, you get vertigo watching that. You didn't know which way was up. You didn't know who was transforming or anything. It was just so loud and so noisy, and his traditional quick cuts does not work in a movie like Transformers. But Rise of the Beast, that looks pretty good, I have to admit. Now, will I actually go out there and watch it at the theater? Probably not. Probably not. Um, I think right now, I think the only movie that I might be able to talk myself into going out to see it might be the Blue Beetle. That's probably the only thing really this summer that I'm looking at that I might want to go see at the theater. Everything else is just leaving me dry. I'm not really excited about that for summer. But that's just me. That's just me. Obviously, everybody went and saw the Spider-Verse movie last weekend. It did. It pulled great deal of money. Um, I read about the backlash, which we're going to talk to Mariah about because I'd like to see what her perspective is as a woman. Um, but it seems to me that the Little Mermaid movie had an international backlash, and nobody went and saw it. China, it made over like slightly over three million bucks in China. It made a little over $4 million in South Korea. It looks to be tanking in Japan as well. The box office is pretty good domestically. I mean, we're watching it here, but you make your money on the international market. You try to break even here, your production costs, you try to break even domestically, and then you try to make your profit internationally. It's made a lot of money. Um, it has made money. I'm not one of those guys that advocates that. Well, you gotta double your production budget. I don't really necessarily believe that. Um, for one thing, I always think that the budgets are inflated as a way to impress people. Well, I spent $100 million on that. Oh, it must be good. Um, and you know how it is. Whatever there's a low budget movie, well, it's low budget. Oh, it must be cheap. So why am I going to go watch it? And I think that's one of the reasons why studios always pump up their money a little bit, is because they're trying to say, hey, we spent a lot of money on this, so it's worth your time to watch. I always take at least a quarter of their budget, reported budget. I take at least a quarter of that away. As far as publicity goes, listen, it's a whole different world now. Whereas you had to go through newspapers and old TV and whatnot to advertise your movie, social media has made that irrelevant. You could not spend a dime on publicity for Fast X, and people are going to know all about it. You don't have to spend any money on that. Not a dime. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows the brand. Everybody knows the movie. Yeah, you might throw a few trailers here and there, but it's not going to be like, I got to pair up with other companies to help make my money back. No, you're pairing up with other companies because you're adding even that to your more of your profit. So let's see. Echo's here. Thank you, Echo, for being here. I need to double my budget to get toilet paper made out of silk. Yeah, exactly, Echo. You're feeling it, and that's again. These are questions which are going to be perfect for our guest tonight because she's going to be able to answer all these questions. So she is an executive producer. I will have to mention this because I'm very excited about this. That it hasn't come out yet. It came out for South by Southwest. I don't know when it's going to get a general release date. I'm thinking in the fall time. Though I have seen some reviews out, so I'm not really sure what's going on. But Mariah has executive produced a movie called Scrambled, which stars Leah McKendrick and a whole hell of a cast. That's a hell of a cast too. Let me tell you, that cast is stacked. Um, and it's coming out on Lionsgate. Has an A-list cast of supporting actors, and it's a comedy. It's a comedy, and it's coming out. And so we're going to talk to Mariah about that. And really, what's cool about this is let's go see, because I have a feeling already, even as I'm speaking about this, I have a feeling Mariah's going to be involved in something else. And I want to see if that's the case, because if that's the case, maybe we can get her to talk a little bit about that too. Hopefully so. Hopefully. All right. Give me a second here. Let's see. Um, so as you know, they're going to be remaking. A. I Know What You Did Last Summer, which was a really fun horror franchise that featured Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze, Sarah Michelle Gellar, and Ryan Philippi. I think that's how you say it. Sorry, Ryan. I know who you are. Um, so I know they're going to be remaking they're remaking it, and Leah is writing it, and I'm going to see if Mariah is producing it. That's what I'm going to ask her. She's producing it. Um, and so, as you know, that's another movie that Mariah worked on as well. Was MFA uh, that broke a lot of people out. So I still, God, I'm probably gonna get my walnuts crushed for this. I still gotta watch that. I still have it right over my shoulder. But the way I watch movies is crooked. I can't tell you how crooked it is when it comes down for me watching movies. Uh, hey, there's our good friend Heroic Waffles, owner of the best channel name on YouTube. That's right. Still the undisputed goat of channel names. Heroic Waffles. Um, and glad you're here. Glad you're here. And I gotta say that today is actually a pretty nice day today, considering the last 2 days has been really bad because of the fires in Canada. There's wildland fires in Quebec, and it caused our weather to be it was hazy, yellow haze the last 2 days. But today it's actually a little tiny hazy, but not too bad. I do know that it is burning in Pennsylvania and Quebec. Yeah, I heard about that. Hey, there's our good friend Sasquatch in the house. Greetings, greetings. Um, yeah, please be careful, Michael. Don't let anybody go out of the house. Not least. Now, listen to this. Make sure you guys don't go out in the house and breathe that air. So wear a mask. Mask? I can't wear a mask. What about my freedom? I'm teasing you, Waffles. Uh, yeah, wear a mask if you go outside. From that air. It's very nasty. I hear Pennsylvania's getting it really bad too, Michael. Um, but yeah, you guys be careful out there. Yeah, for the first time. Wait a minute. For the let me screenshot this. For the first time, Waffles is actually acknowledging that what I'm saying is actually makes sense. Okay. I'm on my way. Yes. Um. Uh. Oh. Wow. This is gonna be fun. I can't wait. I'm so happy she came back. Because this is one of those guests that you get one time, and then you just hope to hell that you get them again before too much longer. Because the next time the next time you try to go get them, you ain't gonna get them. You're just not. It's just gonna be too busy. Everybody's gonna be tugging on their cape, and you'll have to talk to managers and publicists and all that. So I'm really grateful that we get Mariah to come out and talk to us again. It's pretty cool. Um, all right. Let's see. Hi, Brene. How are you? Let's see. Greetings from Oregon. The adventures of traveling Mike kicked me in his Starlink. Kick me in. Oh, right. So you're on Starlink. Joining us. Wow, that's cool. Is it a good connection, Brene? I really hope it is. Okay, what I'm gonna do here while we're waiting for our guest is I'm actually gonna take her homepage here. I'm gonna take her own personal website. I'm gonna drop it in the link here and drop it here, and then paste it, and then I'm gonna pin it. You know what? Let me do her. Let me do her Instagram instead. That'll probably be better. So you guys can all go follow her. You guys can all follow Mariah on her Instagram. And yes, the Cheetah and I will be checking. That's right, damn it. We will. Thank you so much, Echo. And then what I'll do is I will. Oops, that's not what I want to do. I'm gonna drop it and then I'm gonna pin it. But thank you, Echo. I thought you could pin it too. I guess not. All right, let me go pin that bad puppy. I will be checking after the show. Don't make me unleash the cheetah. You wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want to see the cheetah unleash. Uh, uh, I guess the other thing that happened today, which a lot of things have happened, but I guess the other big thing that happened today, of all days, is that Iron Sheik passed away. I heard that in our little group that the Iron Sheik has passed away. Yeah, I the Iron Sheik was a character. Definitely, definitely one of the most famous, most craziest characters ever. Let's see. Let me see. Let me check. Make sure I didn't get an email from somebody. Uh, wow. If you guys missed the show last night too, you guys got to go check that show out too. Boy, we had fun last night. What a really nice lady Mary Factor was. Okay, there's our guest. Our guest is here. So let's go get her. All right. Please welcome Mariah Owen to the show once again. Oops. Wow, that was almost a fatal move.
Hello.
Ta-da! Greetings, greetings.
Ta-da.
So excited to see
So nice
you.
to see you virtually. I know,
Yeah,
likewise. How's it
4 years.
going?
You and I have known each
Wait.
other for 4 years now.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Like, yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
because you and
Pamela and
I, yeah, yeah, that was
I.
I reviewed the Pamela Ivy, and then
Yep.
Krista came over to me and said, "Hey," and then I said, "Yeah,"
Yeah.
and then I got you on another podcast. I got you on Mr. Doctor Evil's pod. You and Leia
Yes. Thank
went over
you.
there, yeah, and then yeah, this is gosh,
Last year.
so fun to it's so fun to watch your career.
Thank
Your
you.
career is so fun to watch. It's like,
Thank
what's she gonna
you.
do next? What's she gonna do next? Oh, and
I
hi, Mammoth.
don't
I
know.
have to say, yeah,
I
I have to say hi to
thank
Mammoth.
you.
So
She's
how are you
actually
doing?
at my parents' house right now. Otherwise,
Really?
she'd be with me. But yeah, she's hanging out with my dad right now. But I will go see her tomorrow.
Wow. Are you? Oh, you must be. Are you on location?
I had a kind of crazy work day today and was just everywhere and I'm super lucky. My parents aren't too far away, so she got to hang out with her grandpa today, her dog grandpa. You know.
Are you still based in Toronto?
I am for
Are
right
you?
now. It's I came back to Toronto not too long after the last time I was on here, and I actually did the drive back across all the way from LA up to Vancouver to Victoria, and all the way across back to Ontario. And I've been here, and I've had some really cool projects here in the last year, and then went back down for Scrambled, and um, it's been really nice being here. It's the longest I've been in Toronto, actually, even though I grew up here, but for my career, and yeah, but I don't see me staying here. I know I won't be here before the end of the year, so it's nice to be here while I am.
And everybody's saying hello, hello. Our friend Renee is here. Hey, Dell on Movies is here. All right, welcome back, Dell. Glad to see you. Let's see. Sasquatch is offering you roses.
Oh,
I think
how do I see this? Is this on YouTube?
It should say, yeah, yeah. If you go to YouTube, it should say link chat on your in front of your computer on your screen, so you can see the
Oh,
chat.
I have private chat, and then I
Yeah,
have
you
comments on StreamYard. Oh wait, no, yes, I see
comment.
comments. Maybe that's what it
Yeah,
is.
comment. Yeah,
Oh my gosh,
comment.
there's so many. Hi, this is so cool.
So
Hello,
now,
everyone.
yeah. So a Sasquatch. Now this has never happened to you before. I know this for a fact, but no Sasquatch has ever given you roses before on a press show.
Oh, lucky me. You know what? First
Man,
time for everything. First time. I
uh,
feel very lucky.
and, and not only that, but the most famous YouTuber name ever is here. That's Heroic Waffles. He owns the coolest YouTube name. And then and everybody's saying hello. Glad you're here, Dale. Glad everybody's here. This is going to be fun. Feel free to share us out if you can, if you will. Yeah, your year has been absolutely insane. I really do consider myself lucky to get this show. The truth, when I reached out to get it, I'm like, I just don't know. I think I might have waited a little too long. So when I
Never.
reached out, I
No, I think
got you on camera saying this, but
yeah, yeah,
because I
you have
do,
me on camera.
I do think it's going to come to the point real soon that when people come, when they want to talk to you, they're going to have to go through representation because you're just so busy and in demand right now. You got so much going on. It's the only way you're going to be able to do it and stay sane is to, put things in priority. And, doing small podcast shows are important, but not as important as working on your projects. Um,
That is so
yeah,
kind of you. Thank you.
it's just, you know what? It's just I've seen it. I've seen it. I saw it in my other career in music.
Yeah,
Watching bands that were just playing in front of 20 people, and next thing you know, they're playing in front of 30,000. I've seen
right.
it. It's fun as hell to watch.
Yeah.
Um, so last time that you and I were here and talking, um, wow, we were talking about GTE Productions.
Yes.
You were. I do believe you were in pre-production, close to pre-production, or at least in the planning stages for Scrambled. Um,
Actually, so when we last spoke, I remember this because I had just gotten home from South by 2022. And I was down there being an alumni and participating in their alumni program and doing some of their Q&As and their intros. And I came home, and it's interesting. Every time I've gone to South by and I've come home, there's been like a brand new fire instilled in me. And I remember chatting with you. I landed, I was at my friend Lauren's house, and I wasn't really sure what was next. And during that time, I was living in California, and I'd driven with Mammoth all the way up to Vancouver. Lauren watched her when I was at South by, and it just was such a chaotic but really fun time of my life. And it was kind of right after that, a couple weeks later, a bunch of projects just all kind of came together at once, and I felt like I was in this kind of slow period where I was doing a lot of, reevaluating people and places and things and directions in my life. And then after we chatted, I, did a couple
it,
projects, and then Scrambled happened really, really quickly. I jumped on the team. I'd heard, like, obviously Leah's one of my closest friends and had heard about the story, and it's, really loosely based on her real experience of freezing her eggs. And but that whole script came together, or that whole project, really quickly. I was on it, I think, towards the end of around this time last year, and then shot in August, and then it premiered at South by a couple months ago.
yeah, I've been following that. Is it going to get a release in the fall? Is Lionsgate going to release it in the fall, or are you going
I'm
to
not
Toronto?
sure. There's so much up in the air right now, and we're just not sure. It's as soon as we know something, I'll be sure to let you know. But for right now, we're just kind of we're
I thought
we're
I thought you were.
waiting and seeing.
Yeah, I had envisioned because I don't think you went to cons with it, did you?
I
No,
think it was at the market, but we didn't go. I want to go
no.
to Cannes so badly. I've had projects, I've had films there, I've had films at the market, and yet I've just never. I want to go to the south of France. That's on my bucket list. Maybe we should go next year.
Yeah, but I had you guys going to Toronto. I had you guys going to Toronto Film Fest. I
I
think I
mean,
think I think Toronto Film Fest is. I think it's within the shadow of cons. Cons is there, but I think Toronto snuck in behind them as far as prestige goes, as far as what's going on. Like if you like, they've tracked like I think the last three sets of Oscar winners they've tracked out of Toronto Film Festival,
right.
including Renee Zellweger, which I saw that I'm going like, there's just no way she's winning for that, and yet there it was.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's spooky. So that just told me like a lot of the prestige movies and the studios are pushing them at Toronto. Plus, for North America, you save tons of cash. I mean, cons is great, but I mean, it is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, here you are. You don't have to. Toronto's beautiful. It's right there. People really are into it. I mean, it's like South by Southwest. I mean, how crazy was that as far as the reception you
South
got?
reception based on the audience and people chatting about the film, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean South. I
totally.
mean it
Okay,
was
so South
crazy.
by, I mean, I think South by, yeah, it's probably my favorite, not probably, it is my favorite festival, I would say, out of the big ones, just simply based on the fact that everyone there is some type of artist. Everyone there has an appreciation for things that are, on the sidelines in a way. It's keep Austin weird is the slogan of the city, and you really feel that. It's such an eclectic city. It's so beautiful. There's amazing food, amazing music. It's just a wonderful city. So the fact that South by, takes over the city for 10 days and you just yeah, it's just I would say it's my favorite because you can feel like you can walk up to anyone and strike up a conversation. And I don't necessarily feel that at other festivals. It feels like business versus, you know, South by still feels like a filmmakers festival. Like people want to see each other do well. It doesn't necessarily, while you might be in competition, it doesn't feel like everyone's just really supportive. And I've never really experienced that same type of camaraderie the way that I have with South by Southwest. So it's
Yeah.
always going to be a favorite. And I think too, like getting to come or, participating in the South by Southwest alumni and doing all of that is fantastic. And I love it. And I met so many more filmmakers and I got to see so many films because, when you have a film in a festival, you don't really get to see that many because you're busy doing other stuff or like you're going to your screenings and you're going to, press or whatever. So doing that alumni program was really great for me. And then getting to come back, for going there first in 2017 with MFA, and then getting to come back in 2023 with Scrambled, and both with Leah's, it was extra special because it was kind of like this full circle moment and an opportunity to kind of like see how far we've come, and to feel you're like, oh yeah, like a player in the arena, like, oh, I'm still here, and
I think it more than just here. I mean, I was going to ask you. I'm sure you must have been hit, with a lot of different people looking at different, hey, look at this project, look at the script, look at this, because your reputation as executive producer is really, if you think about some of the movies that you worked on, they're really strong. They're really strong
thank you.
movies. And so, obviously people are attracted to that. And so, they're going like, well, we can get her on a board, producer or maybe directing or that could help our project, move it get a little higher than it normally would have. So, it's
Which
got
is
to be a little
crazy to
hard.
me.
Isn't that crazy to you? That people
Yeah,
depend on you or come up to you and they want you to be part of something?
right. It's true.
Um,
It's a very lucky and rewarding feeling, and you're only as strong as your team. So I think that, and we've talked about this before, like I, I think about filmmaking like a team sport. You need everybody. That's always how I felt about it. And I just feel really lucky that, people want me on their team at the end of the day.
I agree. We are going to be doing some interactive questions. I'm going to be asking you some questions as they come through the chat while you and I are talking. So we can just, yeah, that'll be fun. Because our friend Drew is here, and he's asking a question already. And he says, "Question for you, Mariah.
Right.
What was your first big role?"
Mm-hmm.
And let's define that a little bit more. What do you think was your
So,
biggest role? What came first as far as biggest role? As a producer, as an actress, as a director?
oh, that's a really good question. I mean, I I've done some really cool things in my life so far. Like, I started modeling when I was 2.5 days old. Probably my biggest job, I worked for Club Monaco. I was their sizing model for when I was like little tiny kid, 4, 5, 6 years old. So they would size their clothes off of me, and that would be how they moved forward with their clothing line for those sizes. So that was probably a really big role or job that I had when I was younger. Um, I was actually talking about this earlier today because I'm doing the Creative Futures Collective and Soho House mentorship, and I feel like I've had three big shifts in my life. Like I don't know if there was like one big role. Um, I've musical theater wise, I've and stage acting. I was played the Wicked Witch. I've played Sandy in Grease. Like I've done a lot of fun lead roles. I would say that MFA was, that was such a huge film for so many of us on that team. But for me, I think that was my film school. Maybe I'll say MFA in terms of like that solidified everything for me that I wanted to do this for the rest of my life. And that solidified it for me as a producer. It solidified it for me as an actor. And I think just as a storyteller and an artist in general, you know?
There's not that many. It's funny because there's not that many producers. I mean, you hear some directors they'll direct it, star in their own movie.
Right.
All star and directing there. And you don't really see this a whole lot. You'll see a lot of people wearing dual hats.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you produced and you acted. I mean that's and a lot of your projects. That's a
Yeah.
that's a
And
little unusual, isn't it?
it is and it's not. I find that I surround myself with a lot of multi hyphenates. I mean, look at Leah. She's one of the most talented people I know. And on Scrambled, wrote it, directed, and starred in it. My next projects, my first kind of toe dip into being more of a multi hyphenate than just producing and acting was my short Disconnected. So I directed, wrote, produced, and starred in that. And it was bought by CBC, which is Canada's version of ABC. So that streams on TV as well as on their streamer, CBC Gem. And just figuring out our American distribution for that, which is crazy because most short films don't get distribution. So I feel lucky in that regard. And then I'm in post on my sophomore short as a writer, director, producer, star called Memory Lane. And then I'm working on I've just finished my script for my first feature where I'll wear all four hats, which is exciting and terrifying. I don't know. I got to find a really good teammate on that one.
And what role do you need? What role are you looking to have filled?
A producer. I
Producer.
really need a strong producer on that. And I think I love producing. Hands down, I could produce for the rest of my life and I will. But I mean, if I just had to pick one, I could do that. I think that there's a part of me that wouldn't be filling up my my cup as a performer or as a storyteller in a different way, but I know I could do that and that's a strength of mine. Absolutely. But I want to do more, And so I think that's something that I realized, especially on Memory Lane, because it was much more strenuous, that shoot, and I was the sole producer on it. And I'm going up and down in a 1970s GMC pickup truck in a small town north of Toronto. Had a wonderful, wonderful crew, and I act across from Kim Wyatt McKenzie, who I love, who's super, super talented. But there's stuff that you need a producer for. There's been stuff that when Leah and I were shooting Pamela and Ivy, she's directing and acting, and I'm producing and acting. But there's moments where she's so in it, I'm not going to tell her how we might lose our location. I got to go figure it out and fix it. And so that's my role as a producer. So I think for this feature, I'm starting to think, okay, well, who would connect best with the subject material? Who can I depend on in these situations? Like, who also enjoys producing? Like that's also a big part of it, finding people that want to produce because producing, it sounds fun, but it's a lot of work and it's a lot of grunt work.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at now. And I just need that person who I need a me, that's probably the best way I can say it, and not in an ego way or a douchey way, but in the way that I need someone who isn't afraid to navigate the difficulties that come with set, and all that stuff. So yeah,
That's gonna be
I hope
that's gonna be
Drew.
that's gonna be a challenge. It's gonna be a challenge. But the thing about it is though, is your circle is so rich already. I mean, all it
So
is you
lucky.
just got. I don't think you haven't found the producer. You just haven't asked him yet.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. I'm
Yeah.
very, very, very lucky. I have some very wickedly talented and kind friends who I really believe in. So just finding the right fit.
Um. So is the movie you're making? It's called Memory Lane. That's gonna be your first feature.
It's going to
Is
be a
that gonna?
short.
Okay,
So that
short.
Memory Lane's a short. I'm in post on that. I actually was just offered an opportunity to option it to make it a feature, but I want to see the short through first. But my first feature, I have it written. I'm not ready to say the name yet because there will be a release soon. But yeah, I'm
How about
excited.
can you tell us the genre?
It's a psychological thriller. What a surprise!
Okay, that's no, yeah, no. I think people are. I think when they meet you and see how enthusiastic you are and how how bright and sunny you are, I think that people are a little surprised when they find out that you can carry heavy shit. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, you need to you go see MFA, you go watch Pamela and Ivy, you go check some of that action out, and looks can be deceiving. Um,
yeah.
now with Scrambled though, wow, what a now you were brought in as that as you executive produced on that one though, right?
Yeah, I produced, but I have an EP role. But anytime I EP, I'm boots on the ground. I'm producing, and that I think that was it. I can't imagine ever being the type of EP to just like slap my hands by. That's not my style. And um, yeah, it was a really great experience. And you should have Leah come on and chat.
I asked. She's so busy.
I'll figure it out. I'll put in a good word. I'll make it happen.
I wanted to get her one more time before Scrambled hit, and
Yeah,
then because it's a 1-2 punch. Because
totally.
Scrambled's gonna hit, it's gonna pop. I mean, look at the cast for Christ's sakes. And then you got I know what you did last summer. Now that's really gonna be like
I'm so
for
excited for her.
I
Yeah.
mean, now are you producing that too? Are you producing
No,
on?
I wish. I
Oh
wish. Yeah,
no. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. It's like I know some directors and some actresses and actors. I know by the executive producers, or
yeah.
sometimes even the studio itself have some say into it. But how does the producer get picked versus a director and versus casting? How does a producer
That's a really
get
great
on board a
question.
project?
Yeah, it's different every time. I would say, like, and also there's a huge difference between the independent world and the studio world. So Scrambled was
Yes.
like, even for me, learning the differences of negotiation and credits and everything, and when you come on to a project, that I learned so much. I feel like I was saying there's three big shifts in my career. I felt like MFA was the first shift where I learned a lot and leveled up, and then disconnected when I started creating my own stuff as a director, writer, producer, actor, and then Scrambled. Like I just feel like I'm learning so much every time. And I think that
Yeah.
a producer gets on a project. I mean, truly, a producer is the only person other than the writer that's with the project start to finish. And even sometimes the writer, that's the whole reason writers are striking, one of many reasons, but why they're not even with a project start to finish potentially. Like you could write a script, I could option it or I could buy it and then, change it, hire a new writer. Like as a producer, you're with that project start to finish and you really see it through. And I think it just depends, the team that's involved, the companies that are there, where the money is coming from. If you're dealing with a bunch of investors, you're going to have those multiple credits. You're going to have a couple EPs. You're going to have a co-producer. You're going to have, like, depending on the levels of which people invest or if they're able to bring someone on for you. Like there's all of these like bargaining tools that are associated with producing credits. So it really becomes this game of trying to fit in each time. um and then so sometimes I go out to someone. I mean, I feel like Leah's probably not the best example because A, like we work really well together, and B, we've made so much together, so anything that if she asked me to do it, I would do it. But like if there was another friend, I don't know, who was writing alien focused comedies, and suddenly I was like, I want to do a sci-fi comedy, I'm going to go to that friend and be like, do you have a script? This is what I want to do. So then I'm seeking it out. And then other times, and I'm at a point now in my career where I don't take unsolicited scripts.
But
I
you get
can't,
them.
I can't.
But how many do you get?
um I get probably like 10 to 15 a week, which
Yeah.
is a lot for a company of my size, considering that, you know it, I'm very grateful to be where I'm at. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I think 10 to 15, that's a lot.
That's a
and
lot.
they're usually coming through my website, or they find my email, or they go through IMDb Pro, something like that. And so when they come direct to me, like I can't read them. That
Now,
becomes also IP and legal issue. So it's yeah, it's different. So I think now I'm going through reps and finding those scripts. Or to be honest with you, I'm really, since COVID, I've really pivoted to shine a light on my own storytelling, and to you know kind of honor a promise I made myself to make my own work, just
sure.
and still do other people, but like really not just put my stuff on the back burner you know
I,
and I
I,
think
I
I've been
want to go
doing
back
that
to I want to go back to
yeah.
the unsolicited scripts because I knew that was coming. And so,
Yeah.
like, how many times have you been at dinner or with friends or having a cup of coffee where someone has recognized you and come up there and say, "Oh, you're Mariah Owen. Oh, I got something for you," and they give you a script. I know that's happened to you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't happen to me as much as I wish it would happen to me.
Or
I mean, I think
it'll happen.
yeah.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, like there's certain things like at South by people, and typically like I'm wearing this like crazy shirt today. So when you wear weird things, people remember you. And like so if I'm walking around, then people are like, "Oh, hey, hey, hey." Or in Toronto specifically, because I feel like the community here is, even though we're a massive city and we shoot so much for our industry, it's a small community, especially within the independent world. And shooting the types of movies that I've been lucky enough to make in my career thus far, I think that also, and my age plays into it. I think there's just a couple hallmarks that have kind of helped me stick out in different ways. So I think more so now it's like I'm really grateful when someone's like, "Hey, are you Mariah?" Or like, "Hey, I watched this," or "Oh my gosh, I saw you speak at this panel," because it's exciting, because I watch stuff all the time. I'm scrolling through Omleto and I'm watching short films and I'm looking for people that I admire, I like. I love watching all the selected features for South by or for Toronto. Like I'm so grateful. I grew up with TIFF in my backyard, basically. Like I lived about 35 minutes outside of downtown Toronto for the majority of my life. So I would go to TIFF every year and I would try and go and see as many movies as I did. And I had a student membership, and like, so I think for me, I love film and I love movies and I love talking about movies. So when that happens, I'm really excited. I really haven't had anybody come up. I've never had anyone come up and hand me a physical script that I didn't know. I did go on a date once that I was like, it was definitely a date, and the guy gave me his script and was like, I know this is a date, but like, here you go. So I was like, oh, it's not a date. That was
Oh,
tragic. Definitely gonna put that in one of my movies one day.
uh-huh.
But other than that, that really hasn't happened to me yet, you know?
Yeah. I can tell you, it happened to when I worked in live music, it happened to me more than that's all I know it's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
You'd be out there in Timbuktu in a small ass club, sitting there having a drink and just watching a band, and someone would come and tap you on the shoulder and
Mhm.
say, "Aren't you?" And they say, "Oh, I got something for you." And next thing you know, it's like,
Yeah.
you're walking out with 3 or 4 press kits underneath your arm. It's like it's time. It's my time to relax.
Right.
Call me during office hours. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's I. Speaking of TIFF, I mean, since you have watched it, I mean, would you agree with me on my assessment on TIFF as growing in importance every year?
Yeah, it
You know,
feels like it gets bigger and bigger every year. And honestly, it was so awesome to go to TIFF this past year and see the city come back alive in a way that was really, really desperately missing throughout COVID. Toronto is a beautiful city. It's the most multicultural city in the world. But during COVID, we had our province alone in Ontario had the most intense restrictions out of anywhere in the world. So it was so like post-apocalyptic here. There were, Queen Street is our like huge kind of like fashion district. There's a lot of great shops and cafes and very lively. It was all boarded up. We saw in like every city, you saw businesses fail, or increases of stuff that you just don't want to see. And it was really nice for TIFF to come back this past fall, September 2022, and just relight up the city in a way that we were desperately missing, you know? And I think that TIFF definitely feels more corporate in the way that there's a lot of sales made, there's a lot of business done. And I think because it has this, you know, international marketplace that some of the other festivals in North America aren't really experiencing. And I think there's been a massive push also based on the time of year, you know? Look, if you're
Yeah.
kind of looking at the calendar, TIFF is really kind of it's on its own in certain ways of, you know, the big festivals and the time of year. And I really look forward to hopefully having a film in TIFF one year. It's just based on my shooting schedule. The past, you know, 6, 7 years in my slate, we're usually shooting through the summer.
Right.
You know,
Right.
shooting through the summer and wrapping around October, November, getting post, you know, usually getting a waiver for a festival. Um, and even, you know, shooting in August, trying to get wrapped by October, like, you know, not just picture wrapped, but, you know, color, post, sound, all of that, VFX, and then submitting to Sundance. Like, that's a very tight turnaround. So, kind of thinking of like when you're shooting certain things and the festivals that you hope that they will get into or they'll go to, you know, and then even with shorts, that's doing features has really helped kind of shape how I view my shorts and where I submit them as a writer director, you know?
You know, I was listening to another artist talk today, and they were commenting. I don't think that she got the idea how important shorts were. Like she, you know, she mentioned that she shot a few shorts, but
Yeah.
she sort of like, you know, like they weren't very good. They weren't very good. You know, I was part of it, and it's like, well, the shorts are cut. You know, they're training.
Totally.
Um, and you mentioned a source that I look at a lot too.
Yeah.
Uh, in fact, it was so cool when I saw Candace's on there, um, and that was a Omeletto.
Yeah. I love
Omeletto,
it. Love.
Omeletto was amazing. Um, that and film movement. Film
Yep.
movement is really cool too. Very
Totally.
cool. And,
Yeah.
I love that format. I have like 40 of their films, and I'll review the feature, then I'll review the short.
Right.
Um, right, 'cause it's top notch. Uh, but
Awesome.
shorts are, you're right. I mean, it seems like more and more shorts are being used. And did you do this with your short, or are you going to be doing this with your memory lane? Are you making that not necessarily a short and complete story, but are you using that more as a pitch? Because it seems like a proof of concept. Because it seems like more and more filmmakers are doing that these days.
Yeah. I mean, I truly never looked at short films like a calling card. And I don't know if that was just ignorance or if that was just me wanting to make stuff. And, you know, um, I mean, I would say that the only, if there was a short, not to like be hypocritical, but like Pamela and Ivy, Leah and I knew we didn't have the rights. We knew we weren't going to make money, but that was going to be an opportunity for us, A, to make something that we wanted to make and do it in our way, but also open doors for us, and it did,
Oh
you know.
yes,
But it's also something we're so proud of, and it was so
yeah,
fun.
it's
That
so
was
fun.
so fun,
I
you
love
know.
that movie.
And
Uh,
it was a freeing experience because it was like, oh, do you want to do that? Yeah. Do you want to do that? Yeah. Okay, great. We don't have to ask anyone. We can just go do it, you know. And that in and of itself was a luxury. But I think that my first short, Disconnected, I really wrote it for me. You know, I wrote it one day and I was like, maybe I'll do something with this, maybe I won't. I just felt so called to write it. And um,
what
then,
what is what is what is Disconnected about, Mariah? What's the plot line to it?
yeah. So Disconnected is a story highlighting the generational differences of mental health between a conversation of a mother and a daughter. So, you know, there's so many differences that, you know, between generations of how we view mental health, how we view therapy, how we view emotions, how we view interactions in society, and all of these things. And, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that our parents love us any less or any of those things, but I think some of those conversations are really hard to have. And, you know, and it can be with anyone. It doesn't have to be between a mother and daughter. It can be between two friends, even, you know, or just the feeling of, you know, someone else's challenges almost feeling like we failed them, you know, and that's not true. And I just wanted to highlight something that I was having all these conversations with my friends and during COVID. And, you know, I've gone through a lot of bereavement. I've lost a lot of people, and I didn't go to therapy until 2019. And it was through then that I just really I was like, I gotta write more. I have a lot going on in my heart and in my brain. And the more I started talking about these things, the more I realized that other people, not that like, oh, other people were sad too, but like in a way that it was like the more personal I started writing things, the more universal that they became, you know? And the, I wrote this short really for me, wrote it during quarantine. I filmed it with 3 other people in my house in lockdown, and, direct, wrote, produced, starred. I did crafty and catering. I was our COVID compliance officer, all of these things. And just really with the thought of wanting to prove to myself that I could do it, and
Sure.
tell the story and take my own advice. Because for years I've said to people, oh, like, don't wait by the phone, go make your own work. And I've supported so many multi hyphenates in their journey, particularly either as director actors or director writer actors or director writers. And I've been in that producerial capacity saying that and then not taking my own advice, you know? So disconnected really gave me the freedom and the validation in a way, it was so surreal. That short premiered at Mammoth Film Festival last year. And I've been going to Mammoth for a million years, and since it started, and I love it. And it was so nice to be in a theater watching my own film that I direct and wrote from my kitchen island, you know, not thinking it would go anywhere, and having people come up and be like, "Wow, that I've had that conversation," or "That was thank you, that affected me in this way," or whatever. And I think I'd seen so many of my directors and my writers have those moments, but I had never had it,
Okay.
as a producer. So it was really, really nice to have.
Uh, I'm just trying to imagine since I met you. I'm just
Yeah.
trying. Even when I first met you, though, you were a multi hyphenate. You weren't just doing one thing when I met you. You
Yeah.
were doing all sorts of. You were yeah. You were producing. You were acting. You were writing. You were. I'm sure you were doing. I don't. Maybe it's back to the other podcast, but I do remember because I was reading. I was looking over your website, and I seem to remember that. And it's like it's past my brain the last time. But you're also a cartoonist,
I am.
and I
I
think
love cartooning.
yeah, I I
And I'm
I don't think
singing
I
and
covered that.
songwriting. I'm doing a bunch of stuff these days. Doing a bunch
Yeah,
of
I
stuff.
mean, yeah, because I mean, it's hard to say when you turn around and ask someone like yourself, like, what do you do for fun? It's like, I don't know, I don't know if you know, do you have to force yourself to take time off for you just to go out there and have fun? Like when you go skiing or you take Mammoth for a run or a trip, do you have to
Yeah.
find yourself like forcing yourself to do that because, because you're always on the go?
That's such a great question. And I think truly COVID, I know it was a horrible time for so many people, and it was, daunting and scary, and we didn't know what was going on, and it's still happening. I get that. But I think for me, it granted me a beautiful opportunity to reevaluate so much in my life, and to also reevaluate how I was spending my time. And I think it's so important to have a creative outlet, especially when you are a creative person, that you don't make money on, and and that's not your primary focus. And so I've loved cartooning my whole life, and I'll do special pieces for people that I really love in my life, and I love making my own thank you cards and all of that. But I really, unless it's a special occasion, like I'll draw cartoons like I did for Front Street Animal Shelter in Sacramento. Like I'll do that, like if there's some type of charitable element. But I've really decided that my cartoons, for me, what makes them so special are typically, moments from my everyday life that are personal, or for my family, or for my best friends, and that, or from a moment I experienced with someone. And so now cartooning has really become my creative outlet that I have, that I can, write a bunch of stuff, make a cartoon from it, and it fills up my cup in a way. So I don't feel like because I started to realize when I was trying to pursue my cartoons so heavily that it wasn't fun anymore.
Oh
Like
gosh.
it it was interesting because I'm pursuing my dreams as a director, writer, actor, producer, and it's fun. Even when it's hard, it's fun. And I
Right.
think that kind of helped me separate the difference between, oh, my cartoons are my hobby and a creative outlet that I have that's so important, that fills up my cup, and I can, draw something and it can be messed up and it doesn't matter. There's no one putting limits on what I draw or what I say but me. And I get to have
That's
like every year I participate in Tragic Girls Creeptober, which is a Halloween inspired drawing challenge. So like I love that. Again, all the dark and twisty stuff I love. But that's one for me. I don't find that I force myself to feel like I have to relax anymore. Like it's just become part of my routine, and I feel like really in the last year and a half I just have such a sense of self that I've always been confident, but now I feel really at home in myself, which is a really nice
I got
feeling. So
I got to tell you right off the bat, that's one of the most attractive traits about you. Is your self
thank you.
confidence. It comes
Thank
across
you.
so clear. I love it. I do. I mean, talking to you, talking to Candace,
Yeah.
talking to Leah. I mean, all
Yeah.
and I just feel all that when I talk, when I interviewed you, and I just feel that Rachel. I just got that, and
Yeah.
I'm glad. To me, to me, I think that sort of fuels your climb upward. The confidence in yourself and your abilities. It enables
Mhm.
you to go out there and create something bigger, and go after something bigger,
Totally.
and be able to handle it too. I mean, you can get there, but just because you're there doesn't always necessarily mean you're ready for it.
Yeah, that's true
You look
too.
at you look at Scrambled. I mean, that's the biggest movie you guys have worked on, right? All of you guys, this is pretty much the biggest movie you
Yeah,
worked
and
on.
in this capacity for sure. I skied on like Molly's game and I did some cool stuff like stunt wise, but this has been my as a producer, and I'm so proud and I'm so excited. I'm so proud of Leah too, and I think that that's like it's really rare to get to make movies the way that we do, but it's even rare to have a friend or a teammate like that we
Yeah,
do in that,
I love the
you know.
cast. Did you have
Oh no, me too.
did you yourself have any did you have any say in what the cast was? Please tell me you did, because I
I
like to
mean,
think so.
like people talked, but it was also we shot in LA, and it was like who, had Leah had a list, and um had worked with a great casting director, and got offers, got some of our first choices. It's just it's such a game, and some people were, every film, you get some of your number ones, and then you get people that you're like, oh, I didn't think of this person, and they end up becoming your favorite actor in the whole movie. I think that's just a beautiful part about filmmaking. That's like we just attached an actor to this project I have that's at a broadcaster here in Toronto. And I honestly, they never crossed my mind when I was first thinking of the show. And now I feel like the whole show is going to revolve around them, which is kind of crazy to think about, you
Yeah,
know?
you are developing a TV show. So talk to us a little bit about the TV show you're working on.
Yeah. So
Now
I
that
have a couple,
Go
pardon?
ahead. I'm
Oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. So I have a couple that I'm attached to. Um, so I have Ran and Jaden, which is I've probably spoken to you about Ran and Jaden, but it's a satirical take on the gay millennial experience through the eyes of two best friends, Ran and Jaden. Uh, Previously, we were in development at CBC, Canada's broadcaster, and now we are looking for a new home, which has been as of last week, which has been an interesting experience. It was my first paid development, and I think it's probably valid to share this and be honest with people on this live. It was my first paid development, and it was just they decided to change their audience, and the show just wasn't a fit for them anymore. Um, but it's been exciting because as soon as we left there, we got some offers from some pretty sweet other people. And so now we're just kind of going to figure out what that looks like. And the writers are kind of updating the show to make it a little bit more age appropriate for them. They're a couple years older now, and we kind of have this freedom to have opportunities with it, which is nice, versus just having the show die. And then I have a show that I'm attached to produce called Restless, which is at New Metric Media. So that's exciting too. And I'm very excited. I just signed a new contract for a development for a show I created that I can't say yet, but I'm very, 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 very excited.
Are the writers in Canada, are they tied to the writers here in America, or is that writers in Canada separate?
we're definitely affected, but we're separate unions. So it's
Oh,
interesting because so much, like if I
oh,
had to throw out a percentage, I would say that over 70%, 75% of what we shoot here in Canada is American or UK. You know, so it's quiet. It's noticeably quiet here. In terms of like, you know, for myself as an actor, things are slow.
yeah.
Not it, but like not as bad as I thought they'd be, because if things were already written prior to the strike, you could still shoot them. But now, you know, looking at SAG, if SAG's looking to strike, that's going to affect us here in the shows that film here too. So it's kind of a really weird landscape to navigate, and just wanting to support my friends who are in the WGA, you know, friends who are
They
part of
settled.
SAG.
They settled.
You know, so
Did,
it's still a weird world.
did you know that the DGA settled?
Yeah. And we have
It's
DGC
sort of,
here, which is like, yeah, but
it's
SAG's
sort of, it's
huge. You
sort
know,
of, it's
everyone
sort
needs
of,
actors.
I was talking to another actor. I want to keep her name private, but I was talking to her about that,
Yeah.
and her and I were both thinking about the same thing. We were sort of thinking like the DGA, they sort of sold out the writers. They really sort of
I
did.
mean,
They shouldn't have settled so fast. They should have held out and you know put use their muscle to help the writers out. You know, just to take the first thing offered to them, it makes the writers look that much more weaker. And it's they that's where you need that solidarity. That's just
yeah.
my opinion. I mean, I
No,
was like,
I agree. I mean, it's really interesting because you're seeing such, I don't say polarizing opinions from people, but it's interesting, you know, and kind of seeing how people are handling both sides. And, you know, being here right now and not being in the US and like not either being in LA or Nashville, like it's it's weird. You know, seeing some friends who are like, okay, I'm going to go to the picket line every day. And then other friends who are like, I'm going to Vegas. You know, it's like, it's weird. Oh, and I just saw from North Coast Railroad. I know Vancouver has many TV shows. Yeah, they do, but they're really quiet right now too. They have an even smaller independent scene than we do here in Toronto. So like most of their stuff that they shoot is all rapping, and it was so much of like the CW, ABC. So they're working with full union above and below the line types of set. And yeah, it's a weird, weird world to navigate, you know?
right now. Yeah, I was wondering if that was part of the reason why, I know some movies get release dates, from, they get, a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of movies you see them, like Fast X is coming out April 19th. Okay, that's great. But
Yeah.
they don't know a lot of times that release date has been set in stone for the past year. So, release dates get
Yeah.
fought over, and
And
as
every
far
sale
as
is different.
and every what? Yeah,
Every
does that
sale's
does,
so different. I was sorry to cut you off, but I was just gonna say, like release dates, that's something I'm learning so much of, you know, and like this this film I have, Boy City, it premiered, world premiered at Whistler Film Festival, December 2022. And it's a summer movie, but our distributor ended up releasing us on December 27th, which made at first I was like, what? But it's
yeah,
out in the world and now people can buy it, they can stream it, they
right.
can do what they want, you know? So
I'm
it's you
hoping.
sometimes you have control.
I was wondering, because I knew that I know sometimes that a film will play a festival, like like Scrambled played South by Southwest,
Yeah.
or other movies will play TIFF, but that doesn't that mean all that means is they just get played early. Doesn't mean they've gotten a release date yet. There hasn't been a release date. Um, so I know that Scrambled. I mean, Lionsgate might think they might look at the movie and say, this will fit into a more adult audience, which is traditionally the fall time, the winter time,
Right.
where all the prestige movies come out. So they might
Yeah.
go ahead and we're going to release it there instead of the summer, where it's going to just get
In the
by
shuffle
people with
for
right.
yeah.
So that happens. Uh, and hopefully, it'll get a really good push, when it rolls out. Um, as
Thank you.
far as well, let me. I want to answer the. Someone asked me a question. I totally forgot it. Here, let me go back.
Yeah. Ask
All
away
right.
if anyone has any questions.
Yes, the more questions. Ask more questions. Let's see. Our friend Drew wants to know. He wants to ask a question for you.
Yeah.
Yep. He says, "What's a movie performance that inspired you to become an actress?"
Oh, that's a great question.
It is.
I think truly, I think for me, I grew up watching so much theater in Second City, and I think it was probably live theater. And I come from a family of a lot of really funny women. And my dad's hilarious. Like I come from a really funny family, and I think that probably more than any performance by an actor or an actress, I think it really inspired me making people laugh, and telling stories and being able to take someone on a journey, and particularly with things that I created up in my own head. So I think that really is what inspired me to act. And I think I just always was a ham, and I always was a goofball, and I love to this day, even to a fault. I love making people feel good and happy, even if I'm not feeling that way, which is something I'm working on. But I think that's probably what helped me the most with being an actor, is that I loved performing. I loved learning about other people and getting to play parts of myself that I didn't really think were parts of me, or like, getting to explore different thoughts and perspectives and find commonalities, because I think we're all more alike than we are different. And I think that, yeah, I just was really inspired by, it might sound really cheesy, but I think my family really inspired me to be an actor more than anything, because I just would do ridiculous stuff all the time, and they would laugh, and I would make them smile, or I would, make them roll their eyes and then laugh. So I think that's really, I was like, oh, I have something here. I love, I can be a little bit of a little shit. So it's like
Well,
it's a
I
good
think that's actually a question I was going to ask you too. Is like, I mean, as you get a little bit older and a little bit more experience
Mhm.
in this business, has your attitude changed when it comes down to problem solving? Has it evolved, or has it sort of devolved a
That's
little
a
bit?
really awesome question I've never even thought of. And you're right. I think I've always been a really quick problem solver. I think being an athlete for so long, it's just been something that I'm like, okay, I got to chat with someone. I got to figure this out. Like, being an athlete, if you have a problem with a teammate, you have to leave it at the door. You have a goal in mind to accomplish. And I think I
Absolutely.
used to feel like everything had to be talked out. Everything had to be finalized with a nice little bow. And that's just not the way it is anymore. I'm so over fighting to be in places where I'm not wanted. And I think that's been a huge lesson for me, or to feel like, in terms of problem solving, I really haven't changed. If there's a problem, I want to nip it in the bud. I want to make sure that everyone feels safe. I want everyone to feel valued, and I want them to feel heard, and like, no bullshit. Like I've said for a million years, I don't want to work with assholes, and I'm not going to. Pardon my
No,
language, but like that's what I've been
no,
saying since I was 21 years old, and that's been my whole ethos, my focus when I look to work with people, when I work to hire people, anything like that. So I think the problem solving hasn't changed. If anything, it's gotten better, because I've just gotten more confident as I've grown, and
mhm.
I I look young,
More
and I
responsibility,
typically when I go,
responsibility too. I mean, yeah, I mean, every project you've gone. I mean, think about everything you're doing going forward
yeah,
is bigger than what you've already done. So you're going forward, and it's getting heavier and heavier. So yeah, I guess you would have to. I guess you would definitely have to handle it a little bit differently. But some people,
and I
they
think
can't always necessarily take that though. Sometimes people, you give them a little bit more responsibility, and sometimes they feel it a little bit more, even though they're basically still the same person, but they feel it
yeah,
on their shoulders a little bit more, and they don't really know how to distribute the weight.
that's a beautiful way to depict it, and I think it's true. I think I felt like I had to do it the way that everyone else was doing. I had to follow the same rules, and I've never, like, obviously I do follow rules, but like I've never followed anybody else's algorithm or handbook, if you will, with my own career. So why would I start now? I learned from a lot of people, and I ask a lot of questions, but what works for other people hasn't necessarily worked for me. And I think that one thing that's been such a strength is I love the people I get to work with. I feel really lucky with the people I get to work with, whether they're above or below the line. And I think now I just feel ultra protective of my team in a way that I always did, but now I'm not afraid to say it, and I'm not afraid to walk away, you know, because
Right.
I've not just I don't even saying this, like, I'm not afraid to bet on myself. And I think for a while I felt like I didn't have the experience to bet on myself. But if no one's going to give you the opportunity, you have to bet on yourself,
Yeah.
you
You
know?
have to
And
make.
now, yeah, I have a lot of, tools in my toolkit from experiences I've had. Some I wish I didn't have to have, but I have those. And now that's what helps me going forward to be a good producer, be a good storyteller, be a good boss. Like, I'm yeah, I feel really I think it's more like a sense of self in a way that, like, problem solving is so much of it, but it's also just like, what problems do I want to tackle and which ones are not worth my time.
Um, the professor has mentioned he has seen Pamela Ivy, and wow, he liked it. Eric Roberts, Batman theme short, nice. Yeah, that's excellent.
I love
I love
Eric.
him.
He's so cool.
Yeah, Eric was. That was the project that changed my whole opinion about him. That was the
Really?
project. Yes, my whole because I mean I knew who Eric Roberts was growing up, but
Yeah.
I saw him on so many different movies. Right, you see him all the time in every movie, and
He
man,
works all the time.
I was just like, I was just like, that guy, if he opened up a phone book, he'd be there, Um, and then when I watched Pamela and Ivy, and then I saw just how he just didn't turn it off. He was just
Yeah.
he doesn't phone it in. And then I went back and I
Oh,
reevaluated a lot of his work, and I noticed that I'm like, yeah, that guy, he's bringing it every time no matter what the movie is, he's
yep.
bringing it. I mean, it
Oh,
doesn't
totally.
matter what. Yeah, I mean,
Such
he
a
went. I
pro.
think such a yeah. I now I look for it. If I see Eric Roberts in it, and it's so cool to see so many actors come out there and they still honestly consider, and they rightfully should, how honored they are to actually share a scene with him. I
Oh my
was
God.
he
Yeah.
was my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
I'm honored. I got to share a scene with him, and it was, I just found out our scene. So as you know, Pamela and Ivy have that opening scene, and it's a smaller scene, but I just found out that we might lose our location that we are shooting at later in the day. And he was like, "What's going on?" And he's such a lovely man. And his wife's amazing. But I was like, I can't tell my lead actor that we might lose our location. But he's such a pro, like he's such a pro. He's so talented, shows up, does the work, and is just great to everybody. Like it was really, I loved every minute of working with him, and he's a pro.
He definitely is.
Yeah.
The professor has the question. He says, dream actor, actress, and director to work with in the future.
There's so many. I mean, director. Oh, this is so tough. Okay. I love psychological thrillers. I also
Mhm.
love historical Hollywood. So, I mean, dun, 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 dun.
I can
What
recommend.
about? Oh my
I can
gosh.
recommend. I can recommend.
Oh, yeah.
Can I recommend a director? I
Yes.
recommend it. If you get a chance to work with Ashleen Clark, jump on that.
Ooh, all right.
Uh,
I feel like I want to work with Catherine Bigelow. I love her. I want to work with David Fincher. I love him. Todd Phillips. I want to work, like, in terms of film directors. I would love if I got to work. Oh my gosh. Let me see here. Like, there's just so, if I got to work with, the list goes on and on and on and on. Like, if
there's
I
a
got
lot
to
of good
work,
directors out there.
Imagine, and Ron and Brian, like Ron Howard and I would lose my mind. Those two as a director producer duo are incredible. Dream actor actress I'm seeing in this chat. Like, I want to work with Viola Davis so badly. I want to work. There's just like so many. There's so many people. The list is. I want to work with Emma Stone. Like Jessica
Uh,
Chastain. I could go on and on.
Uh, you mentioned something. You mentioned Viola Davis, and I want to talk to you about this because as a
Yeah.
producer and director.
Yeah.
So, as you know, Disney released a live action version of The Little Mermaid.
Yes.
Um, so they changed the character. Um, they changed the ethnic of the character,
Yep.
and there's been
Hallie.
a yeah, Halle Berry's a really sweet actress. She's very pretty. She's very cute. Um, what do you feel about casting? What do you feel about that in movies such as that? Should they stay true to the source material and cast the actor as the creator wanted it, or do you think that changing the character benefits? I mean, would you have casted her if someone gave you the Little Mermaid? I'm not putting you on the spot, but I respect your honesty.
Honestly,
Um,
who cares? Who has enough time to dissect and bully people online? That's the first thing. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Can't you go watch a movie, and if everyone is talented and awesome in the movie, just have a good freaking time? Like, we make movies, we don't save lives. Let's not be assholes. Secondly, I mean, I haven't seen The Little Mermaid yet. I can't wait because I am living to see Melissa McCarthy as Ursula. But every friend I've had who has gone to see Little Mermaid has said nothing but awesome things. And let's also be serious. As much as I wish mermaids were real, there has not been proof. So why are we freaking out about a mythological character that isn't even a real character and is yet portrayed so beautifully by this talented actor? Like, leave it, like, let it be. It's not a historical person in Hollywood, or not Hollywood, in society, or like what, who, and even if it was, at the end of the
Uh,
day,
I will have to say that I know at least one real mermaid in New Zealand. I promise you, I know
can
one
I
real
meet
mermaid.
can I meet them?
You can meet her, definitely. Yes, I'll tell you who it is off camera, but
Oh my
she is a
god.
mermaid. Yes, by all means. In fact, she's gonna be going home. She's actually Canadian. She's actually Canadian.
No way.
I'm going to tell you off this camera because if you get something
I
going
can't wait.
during the summer, I love her too. She's so sweet. She's so cool. She is
But you
really
know what I mean?
she would definitely walk in your circle without a doubt easily. She's
Yeah.
so fun. Uh, all right. See, let's see. Professor says never does Eric Roberts ever sleepwalk through anything. No, he does not.
No, doesn't.
Everything he does, he gives it his all. No kidding.
Yep.
And then Paul wants to know if you're a physical media movie collector. Yeah, do you collect souvenirs? I mean, do you collect mementos off every shoot that you do?
I off of every shoot, no, but I am a huge, huge, huge old Hollywood fan. Like, in my house, I have an old pictorial map of Hollywoodland. I have a casino poster up. I have a Casablanca poster. I have a Route 66 poster. Like, there's a lot of Hollywood history that I find fascinating. I think it again stems from, I originally, we talked about this on the last episode. I originally started school thinking I was going to be a sports medicine or orthopedic surgeon. So glad I am not that, but I love our doctors. Thank you, thank you.
Mhm.
But then when I went back to school, I studied cinema history. So I'm a huge film history nerd, and I think that there's a lot that I really value. So I collect a lot of old posters. I love, I mean, both my parents, I would say, are cinephiles in the way that growing up, I watched a ton of movies, and like, I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons, but I was allowed to watch Goodfellas when I was 7. So I think that probably says a lot about my upbringing. And I think we have tons of DVDs, we have tons of tons of VHS, all of that. But I think I just grew up in a household that really appreciated storytelling, and that is such a luxury, because neither of my parents are in the industry. And truthfully, I think they're super supportive now, but no parent wants a kid to go into an industry where they might not have a job, you know? So I
Right.
think it as much as we loved the arts growing up, and to this day, I think once I kind of proved myself, if you will, even though they believed in me, but I think had that fear that maybe I wouldn't have that stability. Um, it's just been super supported since, like last
Uh,
weekend for my birthday, we did a double header of Seven, David Fincher's film, and then The
okay.
Hangover, because I couldn't sleep after watching Seven. you know?
Oh, right, right, right. Oh, what a movie to watch. Yeah, I was gonna say happy birthday,
Yeah.
by the way. Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
happy birthday. Let me ask you this. I mean, I think
Yeah.
I may have asked you this before, but I'm gonna ask you again, see if your answer has
Mhm.
changed. How do you feel about
Yeah.
being a role model? How do you feel about being a role model? Because you are.
Thank you. Um, I feel really proud because I think I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't have really good role models. And I think my idea of what a role model is or should look like has changed so much. Like I think I used to be like, I'm not a role model. Like, oh my God, thank you. And now I'm like, no, I am. And I have a responsibility, but I also have a responsibility to be honest. And I have a responsibility to be truthful of how freaking hard it can be. And like, I think that I have felt more of a role model within myself and in my life than I ever have before. And that really stemmed from going through COVID and reevaluating things, spending a lot of time alone and being like, what do I want? What am I doing? What are my goals? And I think that it's something I don't shy away from anymore. And I'm really proud of it. And I hope I make other people feel comfortable and seen and valued. And hopefully, as a role model, I can kind of like help people get to be where they want to be a little bit faster than, by sharing my mistakes and mishaps than hiding it and just acting like it's perfect, you know?
You've been picked as a influencer.
Yeah,
Uh,
that
let's
word's like
let's talk
a
about that a
dirty
little
word.
bit. I mean, influencer. I mean, I don't know. It's influencer. No, it's not the same as role model. Role model, influencer, not the same. It's different. It is because I know a lot of people who are influencers, and yet I wouldn't give them a model to build, much less consider them a role model. Um,
Yeah.
but let's talk about the influencer part. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
do you do a lot of speaking? Do you speak to a lot of young people? Do you find yourself in demand more and more as you get deeper into your career? Do you find yourself being asked to talk to either film students or just regular students? Do you find yourself doing that more and more and being asked to talk on panels and stuff like
Yeah.
that? Do you find yeah?
I think
Um,
when I used to get asked to be on panels, I mean, sorry, can you hear that siren? Hopefully that's
I
not too loud.
can. Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry, everybody. Um, I do, and I think for so long I was asked to be on panels because I was so young and no one how could it be possible to be 24 and have done this stuff and blah blah blah. And now I'm getting asked to be on panels because of my resume and my reputation. So I think that means so much more to me. I think I've always been a little bit ahead of the curve in some ways and have fast tracked my life in certain parts, but now I feel like the emotional part and like the spiritual part and all of that has just come together in a way where I have such a sense of self. So now I feel like I'm not just offering like, oh, facts that are can be found on my resume. I'm offering experiences that I'm very open to sharing. And I love it. Like I said tonight, I just started the Soho House mentorship with the Creative Futures collaboration and Air Collective, and I started my own workshop series, Ready Set Action. It's a filmmaker workshop to try and make it a little bit more accessible for people who, like me, didn't go to film school. And I
I was reading. I was thinking of peeking about that. I think that's a really good idea. That's a
thanks.
really good idea. That's a really. I hope people who go to these classes that come be a partake of it. I hope they
Yeah,
realize what a true gift that is. That you're doing that and showing them how to break into the business without putting themselves into debt. You know,
totally.
I
You
mean,
know, and I
and you don't
love
have to be a classically trained actor or to get your start in
yeah.
the business.
It's true,
Um,
and there's so much smoke and mirrors within our industry, and I think that it is difficult and you should focus on your craft and you should learn about your craft, but you shouldn't have to go to film school or a private film school and spend an outrageous amount of money and then graduate and be like, "Okay, now what?" Like there's different ways in doing things, and I really started that workshop because I was so tired of getting interns in particular and then having paid all this money to school and then coming to me and feeling like they didn't know what I needed them to know. And so I was like, okay, and especially I hire female or female identifying filmmakers for my interns most of the time. And that's definitely my preference and something that's important to me. You know, and I was like, how do you not know this? Like, didn't you just spend 4 years and a shitload of money in school? Like, what?
What are they not teaching? What are they not teaching these people?
Yeah, there's a lot of terminology, and it depends on your film school. Like, I'm not talking about kids that are coming out of USC or UCLA, but there's a lot of other film schools out there that are reputable schools. And I had, you know, people come to me that didn't know how to do proper contracts, didn't know proper email language, did not know how certain terminologies like SAG or ACTRA paperwork. I'm like, these are basics for your career. How to build a business, the difference between registering and incorporating, having a 501c, like all of these things that you would think that people who go to school specifically to become, you know, an artist in the freelancer lifestyle, they're not taught any of these things. So
It's like they're taught the acting part, but they're not taught the business aspect of it.
Yeah, and even at that, I think there's so much like you gotta. My friend gave me really good advice. I was 23, sitting on their couch in New York, bawling my eyes out, and I was like, I'm not where I want to be yet. Like, this is the hardest I've worked, and it's taking the longest to get where I want to be. And they were like, you're 23 years old. Go live your life. What are you doing? Like, have you had your heart broken? Have you done this? Have you done that? And I was like, no, I'm too busy working and crying. And they were like, go live your life. And so started living my life more, and then my work got better. And I became a stronger actor, and I had more things to write about, more things to act about. And, you know, that's very true. I just saw Dell on Movies comment, school and the field are different in just about every industry. And it's so true. So true. You know, there's a huge difference. I would rather hire someone who has life experience than 4 years of school and
Me too.
can't communicate.
Yeah, me too. I'm
Done.
like that too.
Yeah.
I'm like that. I've seen that before where someone walks in and they got 4 years of schooling for being a firefighter, and there's another guy with 4 years of actually fighting fire. Who am I going to hire? The guy who's got his degree, or the guy who's actually been doing it? I'll take the guy who's been doing it because I could teach him. Whereas this other guy here, I mean, he's going to have to learn from the boots up.
Totally.
And you might not have the time. You might not, you know, if something happens. Speaking of that, I hope the fires in Quebec are they affecting you in Toronto?
As you know, I turned 29 last week, and this is my first time in my whole life that I have ever felt haze or smoke in the city. The air quality is the worst it's ever been in my whole life. And New York has the worst air quality out of anywhere in the world right now, which is insanity. I just read. And, you know, we're just up from New York, and it's weird. It's really weird to see. And I've lived in California, and I've lived in Southern and Northern California, and never felt the same effects that I felt here. And just, you know, walking down the street and being like coughing, and it's really scary. So I hope that everyone is safe and staying safe. And
wear your mask, people. Wear your mask.
Yeah,
that's
honestly,
what I tell you.
It in a situation like this, yeah. My friend, she's a dog walker, and I saw her earlier today, and she's like, I coughed, and I was like, I coughed soot. And and we grew up in Toronto, like that. Toronto's a very clean city, you know?
Yes, it is. Beautiful
so
city.
It's very odd. Very, very odd.
Yeah, man, you said you're 29. I'm going like, man, it's just bonkers because, man, when I met you, you were 25. You were just, you know, it's so fun. It's so much fun though, because the world's your oyster, Mariah, for sure. So what is next for you for the rest of this year? I mean, are you going to be okay? Wait a minute. Okay, I got to be a fanboy here. You guys have to forgive me a little bit. So what was it? Did you have any scenes with Clancy Brown?
No, but I love him. I talk to him a lot.
Yeah,
he's phenomenal. Awesome. Would work with him again in a heartbeat. Very interesting and kind. And he was SpongeBob SquarePants. I know he's done a whole bunch of other things, but for me, I was like, not SpongeBob SquarePants. Oh my God, Mr. Krabs. But like, when I grew up watching SpongeBob, and he was Mr. Krabs.
Did you know
And
he
so
was
when he
also
was,
Private Zim?
pardon?
He was Private Zim in Starship Troopers.
I Oh, I know he has a very, 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 very lengthy resume. Shawshank Redemption, like he is phenomenal. But I would hear him speak, and I would be like, Mr. Krabs, So it's yeah, it's
You
true.
know, I'm sure there's probably a heavy scene going on in there, and then he starts speaking this line, and all of a sudden you hear this lone female voice off to the side
Yeah,
start losing it, and then
it's
all of a sudden you hear Mariah.
yeah. Why don't stop,
That's
Mariah? Stop being a SpongeBob fangirl. It's true. But yeah, he's
uh,
great. Honestly,
okay.
everyone
So
was great.
I just love the cast in this movie. I it's just so much fun that you guys got that whole cast together, and it's gonna be popping. I mean, I'll share with you guys a little bit about this cast so you guys know it, so you guys can like when it comes out, you're definitely gonna be around. And you actually got one actress in here that I have not seen work for a while, and I was like, oh my gosh, how did they get her to come out and do this movie? And it's just like, okay. And that was Christine Haji. I haven't seen her in
Yes,
years. Uh,
and she's so talented and so lovely. And we met her because we filmed a scene in her house, and I just started talking to her, and
she's
I was like, "Do
fantastic.
you want to be in our movie?" And so
Uh,
that's how it happened. I just started talking to her because she was
so you did,
our
so you
we
did
rented
cast
her
some
house.
people. So you did cast, you yourself did cast a few people in here.
I
I
did a lot
knew
of
it.
the background casting in the movie.
Okay. I mean,
Well,
you have Christine Haji from Head of the Class. She was awesome in that.
yeah.
You have Adam Rodriguez from CSI Miami.
Yes.
That was Delco. Eric Delco was my favorite character on the show.
Right. Of course. Of course.
Of course, we have Clancy Brown, Yvonne Stravinsky. Love
Yeah.
Yvonne. She's so pretty. She's
Yeah.
really
She's
pretty.
so talented and so kind. And Handmaid's Tale filmed here in Toronto for years, so it was really nice. We have a lot of mutual friends from working on the show, and she's just so beautiful and so
I,
talented.
I was just like, I saw that and went, wow, this is so cool. You got Mimi Kennedy. You got Lindsay Morgan.
Yes.
I mean, you guys just have a killer cast. I
Yeah.
just
That
can't wait
was
for
so
this
cool.
movie
I
to
got
come
to
out.
vote them. Like everyone was like, yeah. And Leah shines in a way that I feel like I'm really excited for the world to get to see.
Leah's she's lovely.
Yeah.
She is lovely. She's a chameleon.
Yeah.
She's a chameleon. She could do everything. I
Yeah.
mean, it's so yeah. If you guys haven't seen Pamela and Poison Ivy and Ivy, oh Lord have mercy. Yeah. Let's see. Let's catch up with the chat real quick. Let's see. Dell mentions only 29. You still have a lot of living to do. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And
Woo!
Clancy Brown is great. I
I
agree.
agree.
He captured the brain bug. Okay. See, North mentioned Detroit postponed a baseball game because of the fire in Canada. Yes, the last 2 days here were absolutely crazy.
Brutal.
Dal mentions he grew up in New York. Crazy to hear about that in the air. And
Yeah.
Waffles, who was in here earlier, I don't think he's here now, but he commented that New Jersey was really, really bad. Let's see. Slasher Fred just came on in. Hey, Fred.
Hi.
And says he loves Clancy Brown's performance as Kurgan, the main bad guy in the 1980s film Highlander. That's
Yep.
right. And Michael Ironside was also a bad guy in Highlander. So there you go. Gotta love that. Hi, Katie. Real quick, my last question to you will be this: where do you see yourself in a year from now? Where do you want to be in a year?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay. You have to hold me accountable, Patrick. Do you promise?
I promise.
Okay. So I put on my birthday, I want to have at least be in pre-production for my first feature by the time my next birthday rolls around. I want to finish a manuscript for a novel I started writing called Screenshots from Heaven. And I want to put out at least one song. So those are
Okay.
3 things. So I hope by this time next year, I will be finish the manuscript of my novel. I will either be in pre-production, production, or potentially post on my first feature as
That
a
would
writer
be
director
awesome.
star. And I'd like to put out a finished song.
Now, you want to sing or do you want somebody else to sing?
I'll probably sing it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That's fine. Make it a duet with Serena Ryder.
I love Serena Ryder. I'll
Ooh.
have to tell you something off camera. I'm very excited.
Okay, because I love Serena. She's
I
cool
know
as
she's
hell.
yeah.
Okay, boys and girls, last round of questions for our guest, the awesome Mariah Owen. I did tell you she's a powerhouse. I said that last night. I said the powerhouse Mariah Owen. I was right. How's your mom doing, by the way, Mama
My
Owen?
mom, she's great. My mom's great. My dad's great. I feel so lucky, and also getting to be back here in Toronto. I'm getting to spend a lot more time with them. So my mom and I are going to see Hamilton this week because it's in Toronto finally, and yeah, just we had tickets during COVID, and then everything got shut down. So grateful it's back in the city and getting to just yeah.
Original
I feel
cast,
like
or original cast or
touring,
Canadian cast?
touring cast, but still
Okay,
very excited. And
very good.
yeah, I it's just this time here, it's the longest I've been away from LA, and it's been really great. But I have to go
Oh,
back to LA soon. LA or
uh,
Nashville.
uh, let's see. Everybody's talking about. Oh, no problem. Thank you, Brene. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Um,
everyone for
uh,
being here.
yes, yes. And now they're mentioning they're more into Highlander, the TV series. I think you were too young
Yeah.
for that. That show was. But if you get a chance to watch it, do so. All right, boys and girls. I want to say thank you very much to our very special guest, Mariah Owen. I want to thank the chat for coming out and kicking ass as always. Thank you
Thank
so much for
you.
your support. It means everything to us. Um, and tomorrow night we have the poet Hyde Raven Knight will be with us. I can't wait for that. It's gonna be fun. She's very exotic and mysterious, and she'll be with us tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, and she'll be dropping some poetry. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, this Saturday, I will be guest hosting the House of Horrors with our good friend Echo Zero. We'll be talking to film director Conrad Farja from Cleveland, and we'll talk about him and his cast from his short film Head Case. They did a 48-hour film challenge. So
Oh,
we're going to be talking to the cast and crew of that movie on Saturday. That'll be a lot of fun. And that also will be at 8 o'clock Eastern time. All right, boys and girls, thanks so much. We will see you tomorrow night. Stay right where you at, Mariah. I'll tell you who the mermaid is. Um, and yes, I'm not even kidding you. She's you guys in the chat. You guys probably can guess who it is. If you guys watch this, you can guess who the mermaid is. All right. That's it. Hey, Aunt, how are you? You got me just in time to go, but catch the replay. All right. We're out of
thank
here.
you. Thank you so
Peace.
much. Bye.